Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Namaskara. This is Tejus Venkatesh. We are in this very beautiful Indian city. Somebody can guess where it is with some awards. I am so happy to welcome you all. The music is too loud, where you can hear you much better. No music. Okay, I think it was a good start anyway. I think it's too early to party. Uh, but we are in an exciting mood. Any which way, I will just brief about today's event. Today's product our live is specifically dedicated to the new automation framework, a Python automation framework, which will let you use the best of Python ecosystem and the best of RoboCorp. Let me first introduce you to Tommi. Tommi is VP of Solutions earlier, now also assuming the role of product, owning the product. Welcome to you, Tommi. How are you? Where are you? Where are you today? Without giving the name of the city.
Oh, without giving the name of the city, that's difficult. Yeah. First of all, thank you. Yes. I can tell you that we are not in Hyderabad because we were there previously. We had a really amazing event over the weekend in Hyderabad. Over 100 developers, RPA developers, automation developers joined us in our first Hyderabad in-person event. There's some footage of it in the screen right now.
Right now on the screen.
So I want to thank Tejus you for organizing it. I want to thank CognitBot's team that were helping us locally. They were co-hosting with us. But a big thank you goes to everybody who showed up in Hyderabad on Saturday. So still once more, thank you everybody who came. It was really, really positive energy, great discussions. I really loved meeting you all. So I hope we see again soon. But today, we are in a different city. We had a beautiful city view until it got dark. So we're just recording it a bit late, but we had a great plan of having a city view. We just didn't check the sunset timer this time.
Yeah. Probably just one hint. It's in the state of Maharashtra and it has a lot of mountains and it's amazing during monsoon. If somebody can guess the city, not Nikhil, because Nikhil already knows. A special shout out to Nikhil as well, who has joined today, who helped us a lot in Hyderabad event. So, Tommi, what do you do at RoboCorp with this new role of product?
Well, RoboCorp is still a young company, and I don't personally believe in roles in such as like official titles in a small company or like a growing company like us. So the executive team does everything we need to do in order for us to grow and succeed as a company. So it means that we jump between the responsibilities. But overall, I'm looking after the product, which means setting the vision, working together with the product management, together with product marketing and the engineering teams to make sure that we build a product that is the best for our customers and the developers.
Cool. And any immediate priorities? I think we will speak about roadmaps sometime later. Yeah. But what are your immediate priorities now?
Well, it's kind of impossible not to say something AI related into this question. Every meeting I go to, every customer meeting, every developer meeting somehow touches the generative AI LLMs. So obviously we put a lot of pressure and a lot of priority on making sure that we are on the right track with generative AI LLMs. Sure. I foresee that already before generative AI came, we were in a good position with open source stack.
Indeed.
Massive community contributing with Python. Mm-hmm. But I think the last half a year developments has just like amplified it.
Indeed.
You can generate really good Python code with LLMs. You can even run them in some cases. And I think that is absolutely a priority for us to make sure that our customers and our developers have the best possible tools in terms of LLMs.
Cool. Awesome. We will talk more about that, and we will obviously, this session is going to look into how do we use that ecosystem, not only the libraries that RoboCorp has built. But before we head there, as a new tradition that we have started since last edition, let's do a product roundup. Everything that has happened.
There's one thing before that.
Yeah.
There's multiple right answers of the of the city.
Okay, I think Jagadish gets it right. Ramakrishna gets it right. Riddhi gets it right. Yesu gets it right. Yes, we are in Pune. It's absolutely amazing to be here in monsoon. I think you will have a very enjoyable ride between here and Mumbai. I suggested Tommy that he should do Pune-Mumbai Express Highway. He's going to do that soon. He's promised to do that.
I will absolutely do that.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. Cool. Now let's enter the product roundup. We just want to highlight some of the key features that we have released in the past month, just the past month alone. At RoboCorp, we haven't bundled the releases together. We want to release the products and features at its earliest, because we have decoupled each feature. The control room is decoupled, the RPA framework is decoupled, so is VS Code extensions, workers assistant, etc. That gives us the ability to release it faster, get the feature in the hands of developers, in the hands of customers the fastest, without having to log up. So the first, this month alone, we have 4 key features, 4 key products / features. One is the asset storage. The other is we have upgraded our cloud containers, the workers that you use on control room. We have also built a very good setup utility which helps large enterprises that runs robots on scale to manage their environment, manage their setups quite easily. And the last, of course, not the least, is we are going to talk about the Python automation framework that we have come up. Quickly, to begin with the asset storage, and it doesn't the act.
Maybe we don't do this.
Okay, we will quickly talk about asset storage. Sorry, we did not have dry run this from Tommy's machine. It was on my machine.
We actually came straight from the customer meeting into a hotel meeting room, which if you just act really quickly, you can see the lights, which one is a screen, one is stolen from the room, and we're in a conference room and set this up as quickly as possible.
So talk about the tech startup and the fridge frugality, but yeah, cool. The asset storage, quickly, if we talk about, is the ability to store some data, which is not just your secrets and on vault, but something that needs to be stored persistently, and have been able to manage locally at a central control room. Any examples do you think have your customers given some examples where it could be used?
Yeah. So asset storage, it's really important to make the difference between the vault. Vault is there, it's for the secrets, like credentials, authentication related topics that should not be revealed to anybody. That's vault, it's not asset storage. Asset storage is a new, you could call it like a database or data storage. It's persistent within a workspace scope. So workspace has an asset storage, and then the bot, all the processes within the same workspace can access the data stored in those assets when they're running. So if you're running something and you need to store a piece of information that is available at the next run, asset storage would be the place for that. There's also some really interesting other use cases. Of course, you can put like reporting data, you can store IDs that you need for the next run, or things like that. But what I've actually used it a couple of times now recently is to store the large language model prompt in the asset storage.
Okay.
Because then you don't need to deploy a new bot if you want to iterate on your prompt. So you can just go to the control room, edit the text asset, which is the prompt template, and then run your bot again, and you actually can dynamically develop the prompts in your
awesome
AI automations.
Cool. But do you have to edit it manually on control room all the time, or do we have features to update that?
So assets can be read and written from the bot. So you can do both, of course, from the bots. But you also have the edit UI in
Perfect.
the control room for the assets.
Perfect. So business users can also use the control room with the right access.
Yes.
And if you are a developer, you could also read and write it
Yeah.
programmatically, which probably a lot of developers would prefer, because it could be part of some logic which will update the asset storage as well. That's cool. Any questions on asset storage? Please drop them on the comment section. Any other questions also, please keep them coming. We will definitely take it towards the end, but also in between if there are things which are quite relevant to the topic that we are discussing. The next update is on the upgraded cloud workers. You all knew that we provide cloud workers where you need not bother about infrastructure. You can run a robot instance on the fly, scale it up, scale it down without having to physically have any bots, or without having to have your own AWS or other cloud setup. But they were Linux containers. They are going to be Linux containers. But with the recent upgrades that happened to Ubuntu, we thought it will be better for us to move to Debian for increased compatibility, increased resilience in our cloud bots. And with this, we have also released some 3 new variants, so that whenever you have some testing that you want to be done on the next versions before you move to that version, you can use the early access version, or you could be on the default version, which is the most stable version. And you also have now the ability to roll back to a previous version. You can choose when you are setting up your cloud workers which variations do you want. Tommy, any comments on Debian and how it is going to improve the performance?
No, I think I'd highlight the kind of the robustness that we can bring by having the early access, the default, the current default, and the previous version, especially when running the automations like in production, in high volume. So it kind of brings that professionalism around being able to test early whatever is going to be released, making sure that everything runs smoothly, and then switch over to in production, keep the default, but in your test or UAT environment, keep the early access, and yet still allowing you to go back in the versions in case something has changed that breaks anything. You always have that way of going backwards and keeping in the previous version until everything works.
Correct. Yeah, and also Debian is
like
much lighter.
You should invite our VP of Engineering, Sampo, to your next product hour live. He will talk about this in detail.
Awesome. I'm set for the next product hours. Then, Sampo, if you're hearing, it's an invite. I will also officially, formally invite you. There is bigger plans with Sampo here in September. I will wait for that to be announced a little later. Yes, but cool. Okay. Next, to talk about setup utility, I think a lot of us in this room will resonate really well. When you have bots at scale, you would need the diagnosing capabilities. You would need a tool that can help you set up and configure your configurations on multiple machines remotely. So setup utility comes up. Just to do that, it is available already. It is released, and we have started getting quite a good feedback. In fact, this afternoon when we were speaking to one of the customers, they had some extra requests on top of it, so they have already started seeing the viability and its usages as well. I will quickly move on to the next topic, unless you want to.
No, with setup utility, I don't want to go to features here.
Yeah,
but I want to highlight or kind of let's say thank the team that is building these features, because they are usually the invisible features.
Indeed.
Nobody ever realizes that these things are great until they don't work.
Correct.
And the engineering team that builds these things, they are in the tranches of the biggest customers and the biggest partners in the enterprise setups. And these tools now will help quickly setting up the production environments in production, like in enterprise environments. So cool. It's really important work that we do, and it often gets kind of hidden because all the fancy looking releases that are related to generative AI or bot like capabilities.
Or even a library for that
exactly
matter, because you will see the new keywords that are always coming up.
But these ones are the ones that build the robustness of the platform and the production greatness of the platform. So they're really important.
Cool. Awesome. And thanks again to the engineering team for right behind this. Okay, the next topic, and we are at the topic of the day as well, the new Python automation framework. The reason we have come up with this, we will discuss in detail, of course. But this gives us a real opportunity for two things, according to me. It's my personal commentary. One is that it helps us tap into the ecosystem of Python so much more better. That everything becomes native Python code instead of running several languages, several frameworks. Two is that the traditional Python developers who are building a lot of automations, who are not from legacy RPA background, they can also use this so much easily, because again, this is one of the comments coming from our customer, where two of their C# developers have recently moved onto this, and it has been so much more easier. So Tommi, why did you what did you think? I mean, I know this is really good, but what triggered this motion of the new Python automation framework, and what is it called?
Well, the naming will, I think, still live. We call it internally Robo, and it's, by the way, open source. So like all the developer tools, all the libraries that we built so far, they are open source. So is all the work related to this Python framework. It's called Robo in our repository. Whether we will officially leave it as Robo or just call it RoboCorp, that is I think the naming is the most difficult thing of software development. It requires multiple Finnish sauna sessions and whatnot, and everything to get the name confirmed. But we didn't want to wait for the name, so we released it earlier than later. I think you're absolutely correct that the people coming from Python background, they will find themselves way more quickly with the newly released Python framework. So it is just simply more Pythonic. It works the same way as a Python developer's mind would work. But that said, everything we've had so far, it is actually all Python based. So I also don't want to discount anything that we've had so far. So you look at robot framework as a language. It has its benefits. So it has a benefit of being easily readable. It is easier to approach for the beginner, especially. So if you don't have Python background, you might have automation background, let's say on an RPA platform. The robot framework has a benefit there. It's easy to adopt, and we're not throwing robot framework away. It is there as a language for those who want to use it. And if I don't have an exact number, but I would say that the majority of our more advanced automations, production automations, they will actually have both robot framework and some Python code both. So it's always been a mix. You can combine them in a very easy way. But then we also we saw that we were lacking on the Python front. We saw an increase in pure Python automations. We were constantly asked by our customers that, okay, we are building only in Python. We have Python developers. We don't want to build on robot framework. It's kind of unnecessary for their use case or their experience. So they want to build on Python only. And for that user base, we don't want to give a suboptimal experience. We were lacking on some areas, like you didn't get the benefit of the automatic task logging on if you were building Python only. You didn't have the same level of features in the VS Code that you had before. So, and you needed to use the RPA framework, which is really made for the robot framework code, not like 100% optimal in Python when you're writing Python code. So I believe in like a absolutely optimal developer experience. And we want to have both robot framework and Python at like a same level, amazing level. So that's why we felt that we need a new framework for Python.
Perfect. Awesome. How do we approach when there is a new framework? What are the steps that we are going to take to make this available easily for new developers who are experiencing this?
Release early, release often, and start documenting and provide guidance. So, so we know that the new Python framework, it is not nearly as complete as, for example, what we have for robot framework language. But the benefit is that it's all Python anyway.
Correct.
So we took a step of releasing the new Python automation framework. Even though not all of the libraries are in full Python mode, the RoboCorp namespace, because you can take any RPA framework library and it works in Python. It is not. You have done that before.
Exactly.
So there's like nothing, like in a way, nothing changes. So what we started to do is that we'll started to fix those problems that we saw in using Python in RoboCorp platform, and we release them step by step. Cool. So we improve it step by step as we go. Starting from the most important parts and then going deeper and deeper into, like, let's say, a long tail of all the libraries as we progress.
Correct. And I think this is also a good time for us to reflect back and see if there are libraries that we need to import it as is, or if there is a new available third-party library that we can say this is actually a better way of handling a specific example, for example, a PDF library.
And what we've done a lot with robot framework and RPA framework, RPA framework libraries, is wrapping a Python library, existing Python package, into a RPA framework wrapper to make it convenient to use in robot framework. And I think that is something that we just need to reevaluate. Some of those packages, Python packages that are available from the open source community, they might be really easy to use in Python without us wrapping anything. It might be even easier that way when you're developing on pure Python. So that it gives us an opportunity to look at RPA framework wrapping makes sense to make it easy to use on robot framework language. On Python, it's a bit of a different setup. We need to reevaluate those choices.
Cool. And that is where we will need your support, help, feedback. If you have any such ideas, any such feedback, do let us know, because we are in this process of iterating the right approach for Python in general and using that open ecosystem. So please write to us. Okay, shall we head to some demos? Shall we look at how does this new Python framework look? Shall we look at some templates that are easy to understand, easy to comprehend, and removes the boilerplate, but also removes this blank canvas syndrome, which we keep calling it. I mean,
do we have any questions related to this before we jump in?
I will quickly check when you.
I'll get ready with this.
There are questions, but
if they're not Python related,
it's not currently Python related. Okay. So I will get to these questions. With Janar, there are quite a few questions here. I will mark them, but we'll take it up after this particular topic. Nikhil is waiting for demos.
Oh, okay. Let's do demos first. So if you share my screen in,
yes.
Okay. Should we be visible too?
I think we need not be visible. Should we be?
I think we should be visible.
Okay,
I think it's much nicer when they see our faces.
Okay, in the corner or... Yeah, I will do that.
Sorry, usually I've been handling the background work of removing the banners and doing that. And I just read a comment from one of our YouTube videos that, hey, it would be better if you remove the banners because then all the content is visible. So that's why I'm being a bit,
Very good. and also, by the way, if you don't know, Tommi, I report to Tommi. He's my boss, so he never micromanages, and this is an example of it.
Except today.
Cool.
All right. So
we're set.
So before going live coding and taking all the risks in the world. Just quickly showing updates.robocorp.com site. That's where we post all of the product releases. So make sure to put that site on your monitoring. There's a subscribe button in the corner. When you do that, leave your email, you will actually get a new release into your email when it's published. So you don't need to wait for us to tell you about the new features in these sessions or pages mostly, but you can get it real time in your emails. The Python automation, that was about a month ago. So there was a first release. It's been developing a lot since that 1 month release. I just wanted to highlight from here that at the time of release, and still there's 4 key things that we brought at this stage. And I'm going to show all of these. I just want to give you context first that what are we going to talk about. So first, there's a task decorator. I will compare that to the old way of creating entry points or tasks in your Python code. Then there's visual and auto-generated logs, probably the most demanded and asked for a feature when writing Python automations. Then we have new libraries in the RoboCorp namespace. I'm going to have a couple of examples for those. And then the new Python templates. There was 3 when we released the framework. Now there's 4. So, and we've made it more clear that there's Python templates, there's robot framework templates in VS Code now. You can start with both, and they give a really, really good starting point for building automations in various different types. So that's what we released and kept on iterating. If you want to actually go and see the repository and everything we are working on a almost real-time basis, you can find it from GitHub under RoboCorp organization, and the repository is called Robo. One of the handy features of this repository, I use this all the time, I have it saved as a bookmark, is this table of library versions. So because it's new, there's still, the ones that you see red, for example, are not yet 1 point something, so they are still early versions. But we are releasing these quite often. So when you choose to use the new libraries, make sure to update really frequently and check for the updates really frequently, because we are updating these all the time. So that's why I want to show you the repository. Okay. Then let's try some coding. I have absolutely empty folder. I don't have anything here, which is kind of a risk. So now we just try something. So let's start by using the create robot. Create robot. Yes, and let's have a look at what kind of templates we have now. We've also reorganized the order of the templates. So the robot framework templates are all together. They have similarities. They're not exactly the same. I think we should have them exactly the same at some point, but now they are close to. So robot framework minimal is very equal to Python minimal. Robot framework browser automation with Playwright matches with the Python equivalent. Producer consumer is very similar. One of the new ones that we introduced just recently is a Python assistant AI chat example, pulling together assistant user interface and connections to OpenAI API. And that uses the OpenAI API, the OpenAI's Python package, whereas there's RPA OpenAI, which is really handy when building on a robot framework. While having this moment of having the templates open, I want to highlight also the producer consumer extended. It is not yet a Python template. We should do that ASAP, but that highlights the full breadth of parallel execution capabilities of the platform, having 3 steps: producer, consumer, and reporter, which we have not had before. But essentially, that's the biggest and the boldest.
Correct. I mean, once you have understood the foundational capabilities, and once you actually get into more complex processes with work items and parallel execution, this template comes really handy.
So let's start with the minimal.
Minimal, please.
Yeah, and let's create child folder so that we can create a few of them. So we've created a minimal template, and it looks like this. It is very minimal. It could maybe one line more minimal, but it's not. What I want to highlight here is, first of all, the import RoboCorp tasks and import task, and that brings the task decorator. So previously, if you built on Python on RoboCorp, you would have the if name equals main, and you need then that entry point.
Correct.
And you only had one per file. So now you can create as many methods, define as many methods as you want, and you can call as many of them tasks as you want. So one Python file can have 1, 2, 3, or none task decorators, or these ones. And these are the tasks that you then essentially have as a task in control room, and can create a step in your unattended process. So that's the entry point, and it's really clear and easy to use now. And what also comes with the task, it also enables the logging, the automatic logging. So if you've been working on robot framework on RoboCorp, you know that you get a sweet task log that has the entire execution logged. You don't need to write any prints or anything, any log things in between, because you can see them all from the task log. So declaring the task like this will also bring the automatic logging now, visual and automatic.
Okay, cool.
I'm just going to run it once so that we get that logging visible. It might take a while. We just opened everything, so it might still build the environment, but let's see.
It will still be fast.
It was fast. So our great automation passed. There was some, maybe I have a connection problem, but let's not mind about that. So you got the log HTML.
Yes.
And if you go check it from the extension, click it, it will open it automatically in the browser. Some new features here. There's a search.
Yes.
So I'd say hello. I think there should be expand all, but let's just expand them. So it automatically shows you only the hello rows. And if you have everything expanded, it essentially shows the whole tree of how you get there. Really handy when you're looking something.
Especially when you have iterations, when you have loops, and then in one of the loop, you want to trace what happened for a particular item, then it is quite handy.
Yeah. And if something fails in your run, of course, you will see red stuff in your log. And of course, the same log is available in control room through the artifacts for all the automations that run in your on-prem or in our cloud, or whichever worker they do. Next, I'll add another library. So let's import Vault. What we prioritize with the libraries is to have RoboCorp platform capabilities implemented in the new RoboCorp namespace first. So Vault, asset storage, work items. One more. What is missing? I'm missing one. I'm missing one. Vault, asset storage, work items. We can check. What am I missing?
Task.
Well, task is one. Yeah, you're right. Task, log, vault, work items, storage. Yeah, those ones. So they are implemented first. So I can import the vault here, and I'm not going to do anything crazy here, but essentially you could get a secret container. I think it goes like vault.getSecret.
Okay, so there is going to be this auto generation and code.
Yes. So the code or the autocomplete is there.
Is there. So if I import Vault, everything the Vault has to offer is something that I can easily get. Yeah.
So now you see secrets container should contain. I think it was called demo. So this is my VS Code is currently connected to my solution demos, and there's one Vault entry called demo. So I can use that for showing anything. So let's do what you should never do. Of course, living living large. So let's print your secrets revealed, and then we say that it's a secrets container, and I think it goes like this, and then I can't use those, of course, because I have. So the name of the vault entry is key, and now if this works, it should print it out.
But you should never print the secrets.
Of course not. So your secrets revealed, secret DSDA. So that was printed. Now my secret demo key is as all revealed.
Hope it was open.
It's not my laptop password, by the way. I also want to show that the robot tasks output. It's also here. So,
okay.
So you don't need to go into your browser to it. Of course, if you open it in browser, you can have it in a full screen view. But if you prefer to work in one VS Code view, you can also have everything here. And maybe as a nice fancy little feature, if you check what happened when we tried to print the value of the secrets container, it actually says that redacted. So so the logging doesn't, even if you try to print it, it doesn't store it in the log.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's good. And we also have features of suppressing the logs, even if it's not secrets, right? Like if there are some transactions with some transaction IDs where the input would have come from an email, you could also specifically.
Yeah. Let's actually look at those next.
Sure.
So I'm gonna let's close this one, create a new robot. And I'm thinking of taking the, or if there's any questions in between.
I will.
If you look at that, I'll create another bot. I've used the browser automation with Playwright, and I think this is important to talk a little bit about the Playwright here too. So creating the project, and this template has the implementation of the famous RPA challenge. We just wanted to have it as a template because it has a couple of things that are kind of like so often used in automation. There's downloading a file.
Correct.
There's Excel.
Yeah,
and there's browser. Yeah. So it's just a handy way, and it's also although it's so much used, so many of the developers know it that they can actually immediately relate to the example. So that's why we just wanted to have that. You see the Robocop browser. So that browser is now based on Playwright. So we made a call to focus on using Playwright in our Python framework. And it's because of the easiness of developing. It's fast. There's a really good recorder provided by the Playwright, which we are in the process of fitting into our framework. You can actually try the beta version of it. So if you go into the Robocop code extension, you can already see Playwright browser. It is a very early alpha version at the moment. So it will print out some unnecessary code because we have not created a template for the Robocop style yet. But it will give you the clicks and locators and that kind of things. But that will develop fast right now. Now looking at the automation itself, I'm going to highlight a couple of things here. So creating the browser instance, choosing a Chromium as an engine, taking automatic screenshot on failure. So you don't need to screenshot manually if you don't need. And also there's a headless true. So it means that now if I run it here, it would not show us anything. We wouldn't see, well, you would only see it appear in the tray of your Mac, but nothing else. I'm going to change it to false so that we will actually see a browser. There's some automation with the headless so that if you're running in Linux containers and like headless containers, it will automatically be set. But I also add one. Let's add it soon. Let's run it actually first. So let's just run browser automation. And if everything works now, we get a browser soon up, It will take a while because at the first run it will download the playwright, so it's not as quick as it will be in the consequent runs, but opens the browser and then executes the RPA challenge quite quickly.
Very quickly. I mean, I couldn't even.
Quite quickly. Let's see. We can go see the. Let's see. It was. Oops, sorry. This is the old version. I'm in a wrong project. Sorry.
Okay, I think I'll quickly take this question on screen from Simon. Does the output contain XML file like in robot framework?
The log is a HTML file.
Yeah.
Like it is in robot framework.
Robot framework. Yeah. So it is available in the bottom in the robot task output, but it is also available as a file when you go to your projects on the left-hand side.
No, but what he's asking, Simon is asking, does it contain the XML-like in the robot framework? So no, we don't have that same XML file, which is available in the robot framework.
For output.
So we have log HTML, like you can see here, and then we have our own output robolog, which is basically used to parse this together. So the XML is not there the same way as in robot framework. That's the difference between two platforms. What were we doing? We were looking at the output of. I'm just looking at the wrong project. Now we are looking at the right project. So zoom in a bit. So maybe a little bit longer execution. We can see what happened. It took 21 seconds from the beginning when it started to build the environment to the end. And in the end, there was a screenshot which took it, and the actual robot RPA challenge was 1,400 milliseconds.
Wow.
But then you were mentioning about the log suppression.
Yes.
And this is something that was quite cumbersome. Like it's possible, but it wasn't like obvious and easy on robot framework to make sure that when you have blocks of code that deal with sensitive data, that you want to say that this part, no logging of let's say argument values or like choose what you want to have logged and not. So if you look at this, you can see that there's last names and company names and first names. And obviously, this is something that you would not want in a production environment. You would never want to log somebody's names and email addresses and whatnot. So that's extremely handy now. And I'm also adding a slow-mo 100 here. So now the browser will be slower. It's easier to see what's happening. That's a handy way when developing and debugging the automations. You can actually see what's happening.
Correct.
So it's very easy to control the speed of the browser.
Okay. Yeah, because I think it was so fast that we could not recognize what was happening on the screen.
So now let's see if I remember suppressing the logging. So we know that this for loop is dealing with each row of the table that we got from the Excel, and then fields and submits the form. So essentially, here's where which we want to suppress. So now you can say while. I think we need to add here first log. So from Robocort import log, and then we can say while log suppressed method of variables, let's say variables, and then we indent these in. So with that one call, anything that happens in this while part, it doesn't log the variables.
Okay.
So if I now run this again and playwright, now it should also be a bit slower.
Where we can actually see what's.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
It is still fast, but I think each line will be executed with 100 milliseconds of delay.
Yeah, I think so. So
even then, it is less than 10 seconds.
Okay. And then when we get into the log, which I hope will happen soon, we should see that we don't have any
the log for those iterations.
This is the old one. We don't have it yet. Now it went out. So it was something failed here. I think I had something that didn't work out. Maybe we just try to run it again. I think my connection here in the hotel Wi-Fi has been a bit brittle recently. I should remove the timeout. While this runs and we can see the log without the names and stuff, maybe we start taking questions because we only have 10 minutes to go.
Yes. I will start taking all the questions, not necessarily to the Python. Okay, asset storage, does it come with permission as well, that can only certain users be using it for robots?
The asset storage is on a workspace level. So all of the bots, all of the users within a workspace have access to all of the assets within that workspace.
Okay.
So that's how it goes.
Fair enough. But it is still, it could still be categorized based on the workspaces.
Yes. So you should only give it to you should only have the users in the workspace who can have. Then just create more workspaces. We have not thought of yet adding more
layers within the workspace.
We had something that failed in automation, but we are not going to fix it now. But I can just go here and see that for loop. I think I actually failed something with my code example. While log suppress variables, it is absolutely correct. That's a demo effect of the day.
I mean,
we live with it.
Live. I mean, it's a live demo. I think somebody would have already figured out in the audience what we would have done wrong in this. But okay. Do we have any certification, security certification on the cloud?
Security certification for this cloud. What would be? What do you think that means?
I think it is the general security.
HIPAA. Yes, we have the HIPAA, GDPR, and SOC Type 2. SOC 2 Type 2. So all those security certifications are.
And this is to our cloud level.
Yes.
Like the RoboCorp cloud controllers, everything will be covered there. I think there was a couple of discussions on RCC profiles and setting proxy. I think the community has already answered, so I'm going to skip that.
Thank you.
Because otherwise we would have to have info here to answer. He's absolutely amazing, and then he knows everything around that. So I'm going to skip that.
If you need to know more about that, go to our Slack developer community. Ask there. You will get answers.
Yes. And also there was a very good lively discussion happening about Debian versus Alpine versus Scratch. It's quite good to see that you have explored quite a few of them and you have opinions. As we told, I think Debian looked really promising and stable. We will speak more about it. We will release some information about it. But with that was also resolved. We need not answer. Is there any? Okay, this is a good one. The answer is yes already. But so the documentation around Python, the new robo repository. When will it come? Why it isn't already there?
We're working on it. So the documentation is currently in the repository. As soon as we get, it's been a bit of a holiday season in Finland and in Europe, so I kind of slowed down by that a little bit. But it will be, the documentation will be there soon. Currently, you can find all the documentation in the Robo repo. And what I didn't mention earlier is that as of late last week, we also released the first developer certificate. So the course and certificate, that's now done with Python flavor. So we will have, we will keep the old 3 certifications, 3 levels of certificates on robot framework, but we will add another set of 3, which would be equivalent, but on Python. You can do both, and you have this the certificate itself will be a little bit different. So you actually have difference there. You can have soon all 6 Robocop certifications.
Yeah. I mean, is it going to be in the same colors?
Oh no, yes. Maybe later redesign. But so the question is also asking about how to set up the Robo repository to use, for example, Playwright instead of Robocop browser for full functionality. We don't have documentation of that. The Robocop browser is based on Playwright. If you have to ask a question in our developer Slack, some channel, you will surely get an example there quickly.
Sure. Cool. I think this is just a comment from Jannar. Would like to go full Python and use the benefit of automatic logging and control room. Thank you so much. I hope you find it really helpful. It is, and then if there are any feedback while we do that, please let us know. This is from Esuraju. Any custom library for application login both web and desktop? There are quite, and there was a follow-up on this message as well. Yes, we in RPA framework there are. It is also going to come on Python framework as we were talking. We initially started with some of the core capabilities, and we will slowly be then migrating to those libraries actions as well.
And reminding that all of the capabilities that are in RPA framework, you can just import RPA framework as libraries, use those keywords in Python as well. So we have not taken anything away.
Yeah,
nothing has been taken away. All the capabilities are there.
Cool. Okay, how are we supposed to use Python automation framework to split processes and make scalable design to increase the pace of automation by increased number of the parallel processing with work items?
So the only 2 templates that I didn't show, one of them was producer consumer.
It's already there.
It's already there. So similarly, you can create multi-step automations. One task can be then mapped to be a step in control room, and you can parallelize those steps exactly the same way as you have in Robot Framework. So no difference there.
Yeah. So at the rate task, the decorator is nothing but star on Robot Framework. So you can have multiple tasks, and each of them is available as a step that can be run separately.
Correct.
That's cool. Okay, this is a long one. I have to read. How is the global error handling done on this Python automation framework? And what if I have to modify framework to send an email in case of an error?
I would direct that question to Fabio. You could also have Fabio in one of your you can go really deep into Python.
Yeah.
So of course you have the normal try catch error handling, and you can create whatever steps you want in your accept part. So that's obviously the first answer. The second one is that you do have, if you run the automations in control room, so you can always use the control room's capabilities when there's an error, send a message, for example, email to certain users. So those both capabilities are available. If you want to go deeper than that, I invite you to have a chat with our developers and see how it would work.
Sure. Cool. And I mean, to begin with, it could also be in the teardown, a simple teardown. Just one cool comment that we got from Aris that when we were running the demo, it was like 10 times faster. Playwright is really fast.
It's super fast.
I mean, if you discount the first time setting up of the environment, which is anyway, it's mostly the first time, the actual execution is super fast.
Yes.
And what we saw was with the headers. I mean, if it was headerless, it would have been even faster.
Headless, yeah. It's I don't want to make like direct competitor comparisons, but some of the other coded automations in the market are not even near that speed. I don't say anything more.
But I mean, I also don't like to dig up on this, but I really think at an overall market perspective, it's a validation of our approach, Robocop's approach of coding the automations, because we have truly believed automation is
Yeah.
software program and it's not magic, and it needs that kind of flexibility, that kind of depth to manage the complexities of processes.
Absolutely.
So I rather feel validated
Yes.
that they're also taking that up.
Absolutely.
Cool. I think there are a few more comments. These were the starred ones. We still have a couple of more minutes. But before I get into that, any remarks on the remark or any other things, Tommy, while you're here?
that was a question leading to a remark. So we were obviously now looking just writing code by hand. But you should look at the videos that we released recently. The previous product, our live, that was touching on code generation. We believe that being Python based is a real benefit when we see a growth of AI generated automations and AI generated code, and the results, the early results are great. Our own Remark, which is a chat assistant code generator, it's trained on our documentation and our examples. It is still lacking some things on Python side, by the way, because the Python documentation is lacking a bit behind, but we're working on it. It's been getting a really great kind of a receiving in the audience, in the customers, in the users. We'll definitely need to have sessions about that, like a frequently to update on the latest developments. But it's you can go and test it out. It's freely available, chat.robocorp.com.
Cool. I request everybody here to give Remark a try. Yes. It is giving really good examples and code. It is helping people to solve their errors. It's really like having a good senior developer sitting right next to you and helping build some really optimal codes. So I request you all. I'll take one more question. I know we are almost on time, which is this question, I think, is from Sai Vineet. Can we use and run a single bot for running some Python tasks, which are defined in tasks.py and some tasks in task.robot file? I think we need to answer this because it is new and it is still confusing enough. So
So what if you would want to? Well, of course, it's been possible before.
Until now,
it's been possible. It's been possible before. You can have robot code and you can have Python code.
True.
And basically, I won't dig up the code anymore because I'm so disgruntled that it didn't work. The last demo didn't work. It's all red here in my screen. But you have the robot YAML file, which configures the actual entry point. So you have the configuration file of robot YAML, and you can configure multiple different bots in your robot YAML. So you're not restricted in having only one thing. That's one way. You can also have different projects, and this is something that is forgotten often, is that you can have multiple projects. Let's say you have one project for certain tasks or certain things that repeat often. You want to implement them in Python. You have a robot project that you bring into control room. Then you have another project that you've done in robot framework. You bring that robot project into control room. You can actually pull steps like tasks from these two completely different projects, put them together to be a unattended process. So there's no one-to-one link from a code project to a process, but there's robots and steps in between to build this kind of from the building blocks and enabling much bigger flexibility than just having one code executed as a process.
Perfect. Awesome. I think that would be it from questions. I know there were still more questions. I will try to dig up and then answer it on forum or on Slack. It was amazing having you here, Tommy. We had a full house. We still have a very high number of participation even after an hour-long discussion and some banters and some demos. It's been a pleasure to have you. And for all of you, thank you so much for joining. yet another product are live and making it successful. We will see you next month. Talk to you soon.